start. We are born again. Open your heart. Spend this time in your head.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Fab 4 meeting. We missed one. Sorry, we missed one. We tried, but like life. So this is a catch up, and today our topic is, will you still love me? Because we've all changed so very much. So hi, ladies. How are you?
Good.
Hello.
I just want to say Janet is here.
Yay!
And I think a big reason we didn't meet last month is because we couldn't bear to have another video without Janet. We tried to do it once and it was just like, it's not even worth it.
Aw, I missed you girls too. I missed everybody.
Everyone has missed you, Janet. I've gotten so many comments and messages.
I know. I have a video that should be out by the time this comes out as well, kind of with all of the updates. So I will be updating everybody because I've got a ton of messages seeing if I fell off the earth or something.
Yeah.
Well, we love you. And that's why we bother you. I know. I love you girls too, right? It's all love.
That's why we waited for you. And actually, Janet's the one that came up with the topic today. And all of us went, yes, I love this. So, Janet, what do you want to share a little bit about why you came up with that topic?
Well, over the course of the last month or two that I haven't been on YouTube, I've been thinking of all of these topics. And of course, that's when you think of all of your topics and when you're not recording videos. When you're recording videos every week, you really have no topics to even think of and to do a video, right? That's how it works. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, and I was like, you know what? We're kind of been changing over the last 3 months, all four of us. Well, maybe not Lindsay, but we're not going to pick on Lindsay today.
I'm the one who loves change.
Yeah, true. But I was just thinking how, some of us have veered off of keto in the last few months. And I was thinking a topic would be, do you still love me that I'm not keto? Or it could be for anything. Do you still love me though I'm not carnivore? Do you still love me, whatever the situation is? Because I think a lot of our viewers, like we've said before, get wrapped up in a certain type of eating. And that's the end all be all is, whatever it is, not necessarily keto, but when they quit doing that and they start something else, then it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to watch you anymore, and, that's just how it works sometimes. So I think that this is a great topic considering there's been a few changes in our diets in the last couple of months. So
Neely, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. So I definitely relate. And one thing that I want to point out, I think about all of our diets, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but whenever I've made a change to my diet, I don't know, for the recent history, it's always been a progression. It hasn't been like, oh, I'm 100% carnivore, all in carnivore, and oh, oops, actually that's all wrong. And now I'm 100% vegan. And now this is the diet that's going to save humanity. And I understand that there are some, influencers out there that can do that kind of thing. And it's just like, oh my gosh, not again, it's like switching religions almost. But I feel like for us, when we've made a change, it's been like, okay, this was the right choice for this period of time. Let's experiment and see if maybe something different would be the right choice for, this period of time. And like for me, I was in the place where I couldn't tolerate all these foods, especially carbohydrate foods. Like I could hardly tolerate the low carb plant foods, much less any higher carb plant foods like the starch or anything like that. That would kill me. And so it was obviously the right choice to eat the more ketovore way that I was eating. But because of the work that I did on my gut and healing SIBO and all that stuff, it's like all of a sudden my body changed, and therefore the options for my diet changed. And so it's not as much for me about the diet and like trying to find the more right diet. It's more like, what does my body need in this moment? And it's going to be like, if you're pregnant, your body's going to need something different. If you're, after menopause, your body's going to need something different. And so like, I feel like it's really natural and really just like, let's just keep exploring and keep evolving and changing based on what is presented to us in our life and, the age we are and all of that. And I don't think, it's frustrating that people see that as a bad thing, because there will be people like, oh, you fell off keto or you turned your back on keto, as if the goal is a diet. No. The goal is a healthy body. And we kind of have to chase different things at different times, depending on where our body is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love that perspective.
Yeah, that was absolutely perfect. I love it. And I think it's unrealistic to think for anyone, probably about 80%, I would say it's unrealistic to say, when you're 18 years old and you've made a decision that you're going to be vegan or vegetarian, it's unrealistic to think for your whole entire life. And it's very well possible that you could stay vegan or vegetarian until you're, 80, 90 years old. But it's pretty unrealistic to say, I'm going to stay vegan for, the rest of my 60, 70 years on this earth. And that's just kind of unrealistic. But for us, since we do YouTube and we are a public figure in one way or another, then we kind of get criticized that, yes, we fell off carnivore or keto and we're doing more low carb, or we're introducing different foods in our diet. And we get criticized for doing that. And, they want keto meals. They want protein sparing modified fast recipes. And it's like, well, I'm not doing that anymore. So I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of people that have a lot of other recipes that are strict keto and protein sparing modified fast. I kind of direct them there because my lifestyle has changed. I tried for the last, as everybody knows, like the year of 2022 was literally trying the keto, and it just wasn't working anymore. So, you kind of have to, like Neely said, you kind of have to get involved and realize, okay, I've really given this the good gung ho, for the last year, and it's just not working for my body anymore. Right.
And it was the right choice, however long ago you started, right? I mean, from where your body was at that point, going keto for whatever amount of time, like that, it did so many positive things for you. Yeah. And it's like, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, now we hate keto. No. It's just, it's like we can progress and we can change based on our needs.
Mm-hmm. And we would never hate keto because Lindsay is still at keto. So, so Lindsay, you want to jump in? What's going through your mind right now?
What I hear a lot sort of not being said, but sort of like the undercurrent idea is this comparison trap. And I know for myself, when I am watching somebody else, like I do watch a whole variety of people. I watch people who follow Mediterranean, Weight Watchers, vegan people. Like I watch the whole slew of different things just because I'm interested in what the people are doing and what they have found that they are either successfully implementing or that they are trying to become successful implementing. And I find value in just seeing different perspectives. I know that there are lots of people who really need laser focused, targeted information a lot of the times. And I think that it can be really easy to say, this person doesn't have the same exact focus that I have right now. So I'm frustrated with that creator or that content. And so instead of saying I have to detach from this person's content and move on to something else, it's sort of a way to just vent a little bit. So I don't know that I necessarily hold it against any of the viewers if they do have that mindset where they need to be laser focused. I tend to change a lot, and yet here I am still doing keto 7 years later, and it's what feels comfortable to me. And maybe that's why my body hasn't really changed a whole lot in the past, 3 years since we lived here. My body hasn't really changed for the better. My skin is still clear. My clarity is still mostly there unless I kind of sort of go off and eat things that I'm not accustomed to eating. That's not to say that my body wouldn't ever adapt and acclimate to those things. I find it to be such an easy path for myself to continue to eat in a keto friendly way that I don't see a need to change it yet. If I find a reason or a specific need to change things, I will. But at this time, I'm really content doing what I'm doing. And the whole comparison undercurrent here, I do tend to compare myself to what I was back in 2016. I was laser focused. I was only consuming content that was exactly what I needed and not deviating for probably a solid 4 months or so. I was not allowing myself to see other people's perspectives or a different variety of things. I had a very totalitarian mindset of keto is the only way. This is the way that I've lost weight. This is the way that I feel better. This is the way I feel more energized. These people are all wrong. And I kind of became a keto evangelist for a little while. And I think I have I've decided, that whole forceful like mindset of you have to do what I think you need to do because I'm supposed to be doing that and I need this. It's just, there's no value gained in that. But I understand where a lot of those people are coming from. I have lived that portion of the spectrum before, and I've slowly worked my way to a more moderate position of I'm intrigued by what other people are doing. I can respect what other people are doing, and I'd like to know how it affects them specifically so that I can decide, is what I'm currently doing still good for me, or is there something that could improve or could be changed if I heed some of these other people's experiences? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Does that add value to anybody?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I was the same way. I remember when I first started keto, I was like, no, this is the answer. Like the whole world has to go keto. They have to. And then it was carnivore for a minute. And then it was like, okay, hang on. Let's just go with what's working for Amy right now. And what I found to be actually more beneficial for a lot of people is what's not working. Because when I share, I did this and it didn't work. And then people would say, well, do it this way. And I'm like, I did it that way. And this is what happened. And then they kind of go, wow, I'm not alone. And that was very eye-opening for a lot of people that they weren't alone. I actually have a couple people in my Facebook group who have posted anonymously. There's one that posted anonymously. They were just diagnosed with cancer. And they have been eating keto carnivore for I don't know how long, and other people have responded to that and said, yep, I got cancer too while I was keto, while I was carnivore. I had to change and do other things. It wasn't enough. I truly believed that. Oh, did I freeze? I think I froze. Oh no. I'm still recording. Am I going to get kicked off? I might get kicked off. We're going to see. Hey, V.
You are the host now.
Oh, there we go. You're back. I was like, I'm talking and everyone froze, which means it's me.
Nope. We didn't freeze.
It probably recorded everything, so we'll be able to put this. We'll be able to put that into the bloopers. But the last thing I remember saying is, I fully believe that if I did keto and carnivore, I would never get cancer. That was the cure all, be all to everything. And then my health started going downhill. And it was like, but I'm eating the perfect diet. How is that possible? And if it truly was the perfect diet, then how did I get Lyme disease? And why is mold potentially affecting me? And why are all these things? So I'm right there with you, Lindsay. I was like, we're going to take a more moderate approach now. Food is fantastic and can be a foundation, but it is not the end all be all.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and for me personally, it's not necessarily I am moderate with my consumption of food in general. I still eat in a keto friendly way. I just am much more willing to receive that other people are doing a lot of different things, and some people are seeing some great success using those things. And it's not my cross to bear to tell them you have to do it this way, otherwise you are going to die.
Mhm.
It's not my cross to bear. It's my cross to say, I am going to share with you what I am doing. If you would like further information, I would be happy to share with you what I know. But also remember Nisha's phrase of N equals 1 every single time.
Yeah. I also, oh wow, I had a thing in my brain and I was going to say it and then it went out of my brain. All right, carry on.
Let's see. Be moderate.
Oh man.
I think it's great though with what Lindsay said, because I think it's important, like with us to realize that, Lindsay's happy doing keto and it's what works for her. And, she hasn't had any issues with gut issues or, weight gain or not feeling well or anything of that health related issues. And that's what's important with this whole topic here, is that that's what works for Lindsay. And maybe if, there was some sort of health related, or with what Neely went through as far as gut health, that might change your diet a little bit. You might consider something different, right? But that's what's important, I think, with this conversation.
Right. And
Okay,
at this point in time, go ahead. You remembered.
I remembered it. You can't make me forget it. Okay. I was just going to say, what I try to do now is I see these different approaches like protein sparing modified fast or carnivore or fasting or, whatever, ketogenic. They're all tools, and you don't have to use the same tool for everything that you do, but having them all in your toolbox is really valuable. So for me, it's like the lean days or close to protein sparing modified fast, really, really effective for me if I want to lose weight. I've been focusing on gut health and, getting some other things figured out. But if I get to the place where I feel like that's, in check and I want to lose some weight, like I have that tool of protein sparing modified fast, but I don't have to have that be my identity. And I'm a protein sparing modified fast person. And that's how I, live my life. And I wave that flag all the time. It's just a tool. Just like if I were to ever go on a fast for, Wendy and Harry did a 72-hour fast recently. It's like, that's a great tool. But, we don't have to be like, well, I'm in the fasting camp. I'm in the keto camp. I'm in the carnivore camp. Yeah. Let's just have a toolbox filled with stuff. And so when I hear other people talk about diet approaches, oh, I'm starting intermittent fasting to try to lose some weight. I'm like, that's awesome. That's an incredible tool that's really valuable for a lot of people. And I've used that before. And it's and even if someone says they're going vegan or they're increasing their green juice consumption or whatever, I'm like, that's great. That's a great tool. That wouldn't be the tool that I would choose, but there's a tool for you. And if it's a tool to help you get off of, Snickers bars and Captain Crunch, then drink your green juice. That's awesome.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wield the tools that you can the way you know how, until you either learn that that's not doing it for you, or you find a different tool that does work better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And these super powerful tools, like we've talked about before, like fasting or PSMF or things like that, they're really powerful for good, but because they're so powerful, they can also do some damage. Even I think carnivore is very powerful for good, but there are ways that it can maybe, do some damage, whether it be gut health or whatever. But it's just a tool.
With much power comes much responsibility. Wield the tools wisely.
Exactly. And people want it to be like a religion where it's no, I'm in the carnivore camp and everything about carnivore is good and true and can do no harm, and everything else is wrong. It's no, let's just appreciate carnivore for what it is as a tool, use it as needed. Some people, maybe that's the tool that they use for the rest of their lives, but maybe not, maybe it's just a tool for an elimination diet or, whatever, or to get some symptoms under control when you're really struggling with IBS. But we don't have, because something has good about it, does not mean that we have to deny that it could possibly have anything negative about it. kind of same with keto, which is what I've been talking about a little bit in my videos. And I've been surprised that I haven't gotten a lot of pushback on it. But the idea that adding a little bit of carbs to your diet can actually lower your overall blood sugar because of cortisol and because of your liver overproducing glucose, like taking the stress off by just eating just enough. Like it would be really way easy to overshoot it, but just eating just enough could actually like take the stress off your body, and actually you could see a lower blood glucose than you did with a zero carb diet. Like that's just crazy.
Yep, I completely agree. So it sounds like the real question is, will you still love me for being me? Instead of having one of these banners, living in one of these camps and being an all-in influencer, will you just love us for being who we are on our own journey? Lindsay, go ahead.
I have a better question. Will you still respect me regardless of what I choose?
Yes.
Because love is one of those feelings where it's an act of choosing to feel sacrificial toward one another continually, regardless of circumstances. I feel like when it comes to the interwebs, we can have these parasocial relationships that, while they can be a very real relationship, there's still nuance there that we can't quite understand as much as we can in a real life, person to person, face to face relationship, like physically sitting across from a friend. I can respect my friend's choices, even if they decide to do something completely opposite of what I choose, because I'm still going to choose that person and choosing that they are valuable to me over whatever it is that they're doing. As opposed to like on the internet, like, oh yeah, I love this person because they do this. It's kind of like a selfish reason. Like, I love this person because they give me all these recipes for my Instant Pot. I love this person because they give me all of these recipes for PSMF. I love this person because they're teaching me all about prepping. But then you come back to it and you're like, you like this person because of what they give you, or do you respect them as a person? And can you continue to respect them as a person and allow them to fully share whatever they feel led to share in the long run? And I think that it can be really hard when we try too hard to identify with the people that we're following. And as soon as they stop doing what we expect them to do, we say they're no longer valuable. We no longer respect them because you're basically saying you need to sit in this little box and dance when I tell you to dance, versus like, okay, real valuable human with their own mind, their own desires, their own ability to choose for themselves. I'm going to respect that person's entity rather than saying like they have to live the way I think they need to live, or else I'm going to throw a hissy.
Yeah. Well, there is a difference. There is a difference between us being influencers and producing content. It's a little different than if just a friend that I knew in person decided to make a change, because I do feel like there are viewers out there who do respect us and our choices, but at the same time, they're watching our channel for keto recipes. And so they can fully respect our choice and our decision to make a diet change, but then also choose not to watch our content anymore, even unsubscribe. Like and I don't feel bad about that. Like my channel has changed a lot of times over the years, and I completely accept that there will be people that say, oh, this isn't quite the content that I want to consume, so I'm going to unsubscribe. And I think it's probably a minority that are angry and like, oh, she shouldn't have changed and how dare she, and so I'm going to unsubscribe. It's more like, oh, this isn't serving me because I'm not making those kind of recipes for my family, so I'm going to go to this channel and consume that content because that's more in line with what I'm doing. So I don't feel bad about that.
Janet, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, as far as what Lindsay was saying, like, you still respect that person as an influencer, no matter what they do. It's kind of like, I know comparing children is a little bit different, but that's like, I only love you when you're being good, and you don't say that as a parent or even as a friend, right? You have best friends and friends, you see their good side and you see some bad behavior that they do. That doesn't change your view on how you respect that person, and you can agree to disagree. It's not like you have to live that lifestyle and you have to do these things, right? I still respect that person, and as a friend to say, yeah, I'll listen to you and what you're doing and give my suggestions. And I think that's really important as well, too, as friends and viewers, because a lot of our viewers are our friends, right? And so hopefully there is kind of that mutual respect that we give to our viewers, and hopefully we receive it back. And like Neely said, if our content isn't relatable whatsoever, we don't take it personally. We really don't. If there's a better space for you at this time with whatever you're following, strict keto or what have you, go to Lindsay's channel. But I think that's important as well too. The respect is very important.
The channels that I watch that are Weight Watcher people, I respect their choice, and I'm interested in who they are more than I am in what they're doing for me. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I got to watch this person because I want to correct their behavior or I'm getting something out of it. I just find them to be someone of interest. So I respect them and their choices, and I'm still willing to watch their content. But I also tend to, I tend to be a little bit argumentative in my real life, and having a variety of different genres of information from which to pull means that I can have a better understanding of someone else's perspective. It also means that I can either more solidly sit where I sit, or I can move the needle over a little bit and say, you know what, you have a really good point there. I understand that, and I'm willing to concede that point.
That's awesome. I have to say though, I think most of our viewers are fantastic. There's honestly, well, I've already blocked all the ones that were really being jerks about it, but I love that block function. It is like fantastic.
Yeah, right.
Really, there hasn't been many though. Most everyone is here just to support us and love us and watch us on our journey. And every once in a while, you'll kind of get that, that comment of, well, if you did it this way, then it would be different. It would work. So maybe yes, but sometimes we also get so tired that it's like, I've been trying everything. I remember, Neely, you'd said a while ago that if you could do in one of your, I think it's one of your Wellness Wednesdays, if you could do everything that everyone suggested to you, you would be doing for like the next 1,000 years.
Yeah. There's so many good options.
Yes. There's so many options. And unfortunately, we don't know which one's going to work until we try it. So we have to pick and choose which ones are we going to put our effort into trying for our own personal abilities, whether it's financially or our time or even our mental capacity to be able to learn and withstand whatever it is that we're doing. So it's not that we don't value any of the times that you guys do give us suggestions or offerings of some kind. Sometimes we just really, truly can't take them all on. So, but yeah, I remember that Wellness Wednesdays of yours, and I was on my headphones and I was like, oh yeah, you say it, girl. And my kids were like, who said what?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it's not that, we do get some crazy comments sometimes, like crazy suggestions, and you're like, oh, wow. Okay. But the majority of them are very like legitimate and smart. And, yes, that is a very good option for me to try to figure out what's, causing my iron deficiency. Like, yes, that makes sense. But I have like 20 of those things and I can't do them all at the same time. So it's like, I have to, with the help of my doctor, getting her advice, as well as like with my own research and like you said, the bandwidth that I have mentally and financially, like with all of those things, you pick something and you try it out and then you go from there. And you just have to keep trying things out as long as it takes. And we're still in the middle of that.
Yeah. One of the hardest parts of that is I was just watching your latest video and you said in there, I don't know if it was the yogurt that fixed the SIBO or if it was the other 7 things that I did.
Or if it was all of them together.
Exactly.
All of them, I think, they could all have an effect.
Yeah.
And they would work separately.
Yet people want the formula.
Yes,
They
which
want the
that would be
formula.
great. I wish I had it.
Yeah. And I don't think that there is a formula that's going to fix absolutely everything. Neely has her formula and I have my formula, and we're still trying to figure out what all of the pieces are to this formula at this point in time. Janet and Lindsay, they're all going to have, everyone's going to have their own formula. And how many pieces are in, how many, what are they called? My brain doesn't work very, the little parts of the formula.
Yeah.
How many? You may only have 3, or you could have like 17.
And then you also, all the variables in your own body, where you're starting, what you're starting with. Like, because there's the whole formula, but then there's also everything that's going on with you that the formula affects. And interplay is just complex.
I wish we were
something that works for you, like at the beginning of your journey, depending if you're just starting out, it might work for you at the very beginning, because like Neely said, your body's just at a different state when you're starting keto or carnivore. You know, you've been eating cereal for breakfast and bagels for lunch or whatever, and then you start something. Well, yes, it's going to work. It's going to work because you're concentrating on more healthy. Yeah, right. And it'll work for so long, and then then it may stop, it may continue to work, but that's when you kind of have to reevaluate as well too, and figure out your formula. And then it'll change again.
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to throw in, as far as like us changing and, like Janet was saying, not doing so many PSMF recipes or keto recipes. Like I said at the beginning, it's not like any of us are turning 180 degrees to something completely different than what we were doing. And so like with my diet, I look at the meals that I'm eating and they're like 90% the same as they were 6 months ago. Like meat is still the main focus, vegetables are there. They have increased. I'm adding like a little bit of things like beans, like 1 serving a day. So my breakfast and lunch may still completely look ketovore, the same as it was 6 months ago. So as far as like the people watching my content and like consuming my recipes, like they're still going to be pretty in line. It's not like I'm going to a vegan diet where it's all going to be, wheat and quinoa and, whatever. It's like, there's still a lot, like the protein breading that I've been using a ton recently, like that's carnivore, but I use that in my diet because I'm not eating like beans 3 times a day. Like that would be ridiculous. I have still the same base of my diet. I just add just a little bit of these, carby foods or plant foods, but like the base of my diet is still the same. So I do think that, and maybe Janet, you can talk about it because I don't think you've talked much about your current diet, and what it's like and how it's different than it was when you were doing like the keto recipes and stuff. But as for me, it's like, I'm still going to be putting out keto recipes and I still eat keto recipes, but I just, will sometimes add a little bit of something carby and get up to like 50 to 100 carbs per day. Like that's still low carb. And that's still pretty relatable. Like a lot of my meals are still extremely relatable, for the keto community. So, and I think we're all pretty similar there. It's like none of us are going on the fruitarian diet, the 0 fat fruitarian diet. Like that would be completely different, where it's like if you were following me for keto recipes and I did that, like, well, yeah, unsubscribe. Like obviously there's nothing for you if I do that. But my diet is like a lot of the foods and meals that I eat are still very keto friendly.
Yeah. And
so I'd be curious to know what your diet is like now, Janet.
Yeah, I was going to say, so a lot of when you were talking, I was like, you know what, a lot of the things that I love that I made and that recipes were creative, or recipes that I've made, like the protein sparing modified fast pizza crust. Like I love that. I love that as a pizza crust, and I still make that. And there are recipes for keto that I will still make, that I include in my meal plan, but it's not necessarily all of my meals and food that I consume is all keto anymore. And that's kind of like my change right now that I'm kind of going through after, everything that was chaotic. Jimmy was in the hospital. Zoe was in the hospital. There was 3 weeks there that I was eating whatever was at the hospital because we do live a half hour away. So when I was there day and night, there wasn't a lot of options. So during that time, I was just kind of eating what was available. But now I'm getting on to the low carb still, including keto foods that I love. Like I still do the cauliflower bake that I love. I obviously still do steak. All of those sort of meals that consume in a day for me is the same, but included a little bit more carbs. There's been times where I've had rice in a week, for one meal, rice and chicken and and green beans, right? It's just those sort of little changes. And that's not every day, every meal. Like Neely said, it's not totally, I'm eating just bagels or what have you every single meal or a carb focused meal. It's just little bits every week that people are like, oh no, like I can't do that, but it's evolving, it's changing rather than just being the strict keto. And I've said this before in videos, and even I remember when we did one of our last videos of 2022, and we were talking about, kind of our word for 2023. And I remember mine was flexible. I knew what was approaching in the new year. I knew that it would be stressful with Jimmy's surgery and taking care of him and being a caregiver for, the 8 weeks that he was at home. And I wanted to be flexible. And that has been so far in 2023, that has still continued. And I keep it in mind to be flexible. I don't want to be strict for my meals because then I get really down on myself. And I knew what I had coming in this year. And I didn't want to feel that way. I didn't want to feel guilty for what I was eating at the hospital or what have you. And so that's what I've kind of took with me into 2023. And I'm still practicing that now that March has kindly come and things have settled down a bit. It's just being flexible. And you know what? If I want chicken and rice, I love chicken and rice. I was very sick as a child, so I was put on the chicken and rice diet for years. But surprisingly, I still love it. And that's, one thing that I'll have during the week. It's not like I have rice every single day. I'll have it one day out of the week because I want it and I want variety and I want to be flexible in my own life in general because my life, been turned upside down in the last couple months. And I just want to adapt to things and be flexible and not so restrictive and planned out so that I feel guilty about it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Changed. I have changed my diet too. I want you to know. I have eaten less pecans in 2023 than I did in like, I don't know, the last month of 2022. So I've changed.
So proud of you.
That's good. So good.
I mean, I've still had some. It's just been a lot less.
I love that. Well, and I think there's this really big idea in there's the keto community and the like food addiction community are kind of mixed. And so there are a lot of people who are 100% sold on keto because of the idea that if you have a little bit of carbs, you won't be able to control yourself and you'll be back to Dunkin' Donuts. And I recognize that is the struggle for a big group of people, and almost it's like alcoholics. Like for me, I can drink a glass of wine and I don't care. Like I'll go a year without drinking any alcohol and I'll have a glass of wine and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I don't have that reaction that the alcoholic has where they take one sip and they're, at the pub. I think it's the same with food. And so there's like this demonization of carbohydrates, all carbohydrates, not just the ultra processed that we all kind of agree are unhealthy, but a demonization of all carbs as if eating an apple for everyone is going to send them down the binge road. Like you said, you have rice, once a week. For some people, like their minds can't compute that. Like, no, if I allow any carbs into my diet, I will be, on a month-long bender of carbs. And while I respect that and people making that choice for themselves, the recognition that that's not the case for every single person, I think is important. And I say that also thinking that for people who are really struggling with that food addiction, it's almost like they have to believe that carbs are evil for everyone, no exceptions. If they even allow in their mind the idea that carbs could be okay for some people sometimes, that will send them into the binge. So I recognize like the draw to have that, you know, black and white religious mindset about the carbs. And I have compassion for needing that and being in that level of, you know, just being controlled by food. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think that that's the reality for everyone. And so I do struggle like on my videos, thinking about like talking about testing out carbs. And because I know that for some people who are vulnerable, that could be the thing that sends them to a binge. And so I recognize that, but then at the same time, I still have to be able to share my journey. And like, I'm not a guru. I'm not like prescribing anything for anybody. All I'm doing is sharing my own journey. And I feel like I should be able to do that, but still knowing that it could be a stumbling block for somebody. So there's kind of that tension in my mind when I'm sharing about it.
I noticed that in your videos that I watch, and when you talk about the beans and such, and you know, you're always kind of saying it's not going to work for everybody. This is just me, and you know, my indulgent in a week or however often that you have like beans, right? And it is very sensitive to some of our viewers, because I've always said on my channel, that's why I named my channel my name. And you know, all of us I think have done the same. Amy, we won't talk about that, but I think, you know, it's our channel. Like, I feel like we should be able to share what we're doing. Like, it would be fraudulent for us to still be saying that we're 100% keto and making keto meals when I'm not really 100% keto anymore. Like, I won't do that on my channel, right? So I think that that's important to kind of say in the videos and say, look, this is what I'm doing and what works for me. You know, you can take it and leave it. You've done tons of experiments and with your gut health and so much work on that to preach to somebody that you can do this, I don't think that's really fair with all the work like that you've done for yourself, right? So, you know, you learn a lot about your body as well too, and tolerances, you know, and knowing that you can have rice once a week or what have you, and not be, you know, at the fast food place or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever the next day or for breakfast, right? To kind of acknowledge it and say, okay, this is what I wanted. This is what I had. Let's move on, you know?
Lindsay, you want to add anything? And then I will finish us up. Yeah.
Words of wisdom, Lindsay.
I think something I personally always go back to is personal responsibility. I show what I do, full stop. I for the things that I choose to do, full stop. I don't expect that. I mean, I'm influenced by other things that I see, obviously, like with the L-reuteri fermented dairy. Like, I would not have known about Supergut had Neely not mentioned it in one of her videos. And had I not become interested by it, I would not have dove into the concept of uric acid had I not had a family member get gout. Like, I am influenced by those things. I do become interested in these things because of things I see and I hear, and I have been, you know, people are experiencing around me. However, I still take personal responsibility for the fact that I get to choose for myself what I put into my body. I get to choose for myself how I output work, whether that's through exercise or, you know, cooking or homeschooling my kids or whatever it is. Like, I get to choose my input and my output, and I'm the one solely responsible for those things. So I like to assume that everybody that's watching me has that same authority to choose what they do and do not do, and thereby have responsibility for those choices. So I do think that it is very good to say, this is what I am doing for me in this current season. And I'm just sharing this. because this is my current experience, rather than like, okay, everybody needs to stop what they're doing and follow Mediterranean diet right now because of this thing, and this thing.
Yeah.
Go. And so I also feel that tension of, I'm going to say these things, I'm going to live this life out, and I'm also going to, you know, I'm not going to be super apologetic for it, because to me, it's not, the juice is not worth the squeeze when it comes to things like rice or pasta or potatoes or sugar or any of those things. The juice is just not worth it for me at this stage of my life. I don't know, maybe in 10 years, I'll be like, you know what? All I can do is just go back to nourishing traditions like I was in 2014. And if that's the case, so be it. But right now, I like the way that I eat. It's almost autopilot for me. And a big caveat, I currently have access to all of the foods that support the way that I'm currently choosing to eat. Any one of those variables can change at any given point in time, and I'm willing to go wherever the current takes me with those things, but I also have the right to choose at this point in time.
Yes, I love it. Although I have to say, I've never tried your hard-boiled eggs. Every time I see it, I'm like, I need to try that. I don't have any hard-boiled eggs. I need to make some hard-boiled eggs. And then it's like ADD takes me off 18 other directions. Never done it yet.
I need to do it too.
And they went home, and then on Sunday, my friend, she texted me a picture. She said, I literally cannot stop eating fried hard-boiled eggs. I was like, I told you. They're awesome.
I gotta
Next
try
time
it.
we should all make fried hard-boiled eggs and eat them on camera.
Yes,
absolutely.
With
100%.
With our mayonnaise and everything, you know, if we so choose to do that, because right now, praise the Lord, my chickens have woken up and I got 14 eggs today.
Love it.
But they're too dirty to water glass. And I mean, I could freeze dry them, but I don't care for the whole freeze dried thing as much. So I'm like, I'm just going to make like a whole bunch of hard boiled. Whoa, what?
Can you do an experiment for those of us that don't presently have a freeze dryer? You, Amy, you have a freeze dryer.
Yeah.
Or Janet has one, and I know I don't.
No, I don't.
So can you? Okay, I don't know how this falls under the like food safety protocols. Can you hard boil some eggs, slice them in half, and then freeze dry those and then see what happens?
Oh, I didn't think about that. I've done the raw stuff.
Crispy eggs.
I was just going to say, all I can think of is the freeze-dried candy in that scenario. It's going to like, you know, puff up really big and be like crunchy and airy.
Okay. Apparently, I need to go do that like right now because I just pulled pot roast out of my freeze dryer and it is currently available. So apparently I need to get off of here and go make some hard-boiled eggs. And
some of the next viral carnivore trend.
Yeah, exactly. Freeze-dried whole hard-boiled eggs.
Do a video.
Cut them in half.
Oh yeah, I'd have
them in half so you can see what the yolk looks like once it's freeze-dried and like the whole entity. Like you need to
draw all the moisture out. I would have to. I wonder. But my only concern is that the whites are going to dehydrate so much faster than the yolks because the yolks have so much fat in them. I don't know. I have to be.
You could do the whites, and then you could do like deviled egg yolk filling, and then put that and be like a crispy white with like the
divot.
Yeah. Bon appetit.
It's gonna be the next there you go. Big thing.
And
the egg whites could the whites of the eggs would be like the Frito scoops.
Exactly. Exactly.
Pure protein.
Yeah. Exactly. Make it.
This is my value added to the group. Just random off the wall ideas that strike like lightning.
Yeah.
That's what I'm good for. We had some other ideas that involved sleds and chickens, but
and emus and skis. It was going to be amazing, but we got to work on that.
Okay. Yeah. We're still figuring out the engineering on it.
Yeah. The execution of the ideas, like that should be somebody else's department.
The execution.
Oh my gosh.
I've been sitting for more than or almost an hour here, people.
Yep.
I'm getting a little loopy.
I know. That's okay. So we will wrap it up. Although I have to say, in defense of my name, my channel name, because it's apostrophe S, I am still the angel. And carnivores do still love me. So it totally works. Plus I got my angel wing, earrings on today. Hindsight is always 2020. Right?
It's okay. It's okay. Loads of people go back and forth and changing things. So obviously that is clear based upon the diet differences that all of us have made, because my differences are valid.
My differences are valid.
Yes.
And with that, we're going to go before Lindsay gets more loopy. So thank you, ladies, for coming and joining today. And we will be back in a month. And possibly next month, we will all have our fried hard-boiled eggs to enjoy together as we're talking.
Is it next month KetoCon or the?
It is.
Yes.
You guys are gonna have to do one there, the three of you.
Yeah.
I'm
Are
not
you
going.
coming?
Oh,
You're not
Amy's
going.
not going? Oh, okay.
No.
Well, you'll have to do your coffee chat when you're there, you guys.
Yeah.
Fab. Half. I can't make
Yeah.
twos. I can't make halves.
You'll have
Sorry.
to. Yeah.
We'll
Because
do
I wanna-
something awesome.
Yeah. I want to see what goes on there. So try to record.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will do it.
Yes. So if anyone's going to KetoCon,
We'll
you
do
can
mediocre
find-
with lots of energy.
Yeah, there you go. So if you're going to KetoCon, you can find Lindsay and Neely. If you need budgeting advice, go talk to Janet.
Mm-hmm.
And-
Yeah,
and-
or like all the budgeting paraphernalia from her Etsy
Cool.
store.
It's so crazy. Yes.
exactly. And then prepping, that low carb prepping. That would be me. So we're all changing so much.
Yeah.
We're like the whole package. You can just come to us for, and we've got everything you need.
Literally.
Except for medical advice. None of this is
Exactly.
medical advice. We are not medical doctors. Speak to your own practitioner. Disclaimer over.
This is
You're
not
responsible for your own choices.
Yep.
okay,
I will be
everybody.
the tough love.
We'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, everyone.
Bye.